friends. So today's video is going to be my most requested video on my giveaway announcement video. I asked what video y'all would like to see from me. Ooh, did y'all hear my neck pop? I asked what video y'all would like to see from me, and the most common answer was drugstore favorites. So I'm actually going to make this two parts. You may have noticed from the title of this video that this one is going to be the traditional drugstore brands and products. And by that I mean these are going to be products that you can walk into your local, like, actual drugstore, CVS, Rite Aid, Walgreens, whatever drugstore you have near you, or your local grocery store that sells makeup, Walmart, Food Lion, Bilo, whatever. And these are brands that are commonly carried there. My next video will be what I consider to be, they're still drugstore products, but they're not traditional drugstore products. They're going to be products you can find at Ulta or online, but still fall within the more affordable drugstore pricing. I thought that was going to be a lot easier than trying to do them all in one video. That way this video is going to help the person who actually wants to go in store and pick out a product versus doing mostly online shopping. So without further ado, let's get right on in. So I'm gonna go ahead and take these off, and I'm going to do my makeup the way that I normally would on a normal daily basis. Also, I have no idea right now where my big mirror is. It hasn't been in here for a few days, and I know I used it somewhere around the house, but I don't know exactly where that was. So I am going to be using this down here, which is my Glam Light palette for the mirror. I will not be using this palette for eyeshadow, don't worry, just for the mirror. So I'm going to start with eyebrows. I use the E.L.F. brow pencil in Taupe, and it has a spoolie on one end, and this is not the very, very thin one. This is, there's an eyebrow hair on it. This is just like a normal tip. Got a pretty decent amount left. I've just recently started doing my eyebrows, or worrying about them. My eyebrows are pretty faint and non-existent without anything in them. And usually that's fine. Like, I don't really care too much. So I don't really do a whole lot. I just take really soft strokes and just try to fill in the areas in between where there's a little less, and like you can already probably see the difference. So it's nothing too dramatic. And then over here on the tail end, also my eyebrows are not the same shape, and I do not tweeze them, I do not get them done. So my eyebrows are never identical. I don't even know that I would go as far as to say they're even sisters. Whoa, I lifted my eyebrow at the wrong time. But as long as they're both filled in, that's kind of how I do it. And you know, to each their own. Some people like to go and get their brows done. They like to get them shaped. They like to tweeze them so that they match a little more. There's nothing wrong with any of that. I'm just going to be honest with you and say that I'm pretty much too lazy. Like I said, I just started doing anything with my eyebrows at all. And it's a little strange for me because, wow, that one's super aggressive. We're going to leave it. It's a little strange for me because I'm a redhead, but my eyebrows are not red. And if I use a really red shade, it looks very strange. because you can see like on my skin where it's drawn in, which is, excuse me, the only reason that the NYX eyebrow pencil in Taupe is not a contender. Because I use it from time to time, but that's to do less. I reach for this one much more often. So I'm going to do a thick line of it on my hand, and then a line of the next one if I can. So I don't know how well it's going to come across on camera, but the second one is the NYX one, and then the one on this side is the E.L.F. one. The E.L.F. one is more of a cool tone, whereas the NYX one has more of a red undertone, and it just looks a little strange if I don't do it right. Anyway, we're going to get into eyeshadow first, and second disclaimer. I apparently don't own a lot of regular drugstore eyeshadow products, which kind of blew my mind because I'm all for affordable stuff, but most of my affordable stuff falls into the non-traditional. So, I'm going to do one kind of look on one eye, and I'm not going to be using these shadows, but I wanted to mention them. These are the Maybelline Expert Wear eyeshadows. I've had both of these for quite a while. I've got one in Night Sky and one in Electric Blue. These are tried and trues for me. I've been repurchasing these since high school. The black I may use as eyeliner, but the main thing I'm going to use for eyeshadow is this Wet n Wild Color Icon, and this is the Poster Child palette. So, I don't know if they still sell this one, but this is the only full regular drugstore palette that I have. So I'm going to go in with this eyelid shade. They don't have names, they're just labeled because you can make a look on each side. And I'm going to use this as my transition shade for both sides. And I always, if I'm thinking about it anyway, do my eyeshadow before I go in with my face and complexion products, so that I can clean up fallout a little bit easier, and I don't have to worry as much about being as precise. And I know there are plenty of people that feel more comfortable doing it the other way. That's just how I do it. There's no right or wrong. So now I'm going to go in with the slightly darker red shade. Also not, oh geez, I forgot how to run away mascara. Not all of the not all of the brushes I'm using are drugstore because they're just unfortunately not. So I'm not going to worry about the brushes. Next I'm going to take this pinkier crease shade, and I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to go into my crease with it of one side. I'm going to do each eye a little different. So I'm going to do this look over on this side. And this one's going to be pretty basic, more everyday, but a little more glammed up, and you'll hopefully see what I mean once I get done with it. The awkward silence of doing eyeshadow. So I'm not doing anything too intense. We're just going to leave it at that. And then I'm going to take the E.L.F. Molten Liquid Eyeshadow in the shade Rose Gold. This is actually a pretty decent liquid eyeshadow. What I do is take it onto my finger and then pat it where I want it. That way I'm not, I'm almost out. Like I'm running really low. But that way I'm not putting this doe foot directly on my eye. I am literally almost completely out of this. Huh. Did not know that. See? Just a simple Super simple look on that eye. The other eye is going to be a little more, I don't want to say glam, but a little more bright. So I'm going to just take the same brush I was using, and I'm going to tap into the eyelid and then the crease shade over on the blue side, just to build it up a little bit, because my other tried and true drugstore single, I almost went in on the wrong eye, is a blue shimmer. And I'm sure that all of the shadows from all of these work just as well as all the rest. But these are the only ones that I have handy, which I'm going into that crease shade now, which blows my mind because I didn't realize how little traditional drugstore eyeshadow I had until I was trying to prepare stuff for this video. And that's one of the things that made me actually want to split it into 2 videos. I love the pigmentation in these. I'm actually going to go in that deepest definer shade on that side and just add just a little bit right at the base of where I've got those shadows. These are really, really pigmented, so anyone who is on a budget and has not tried Wet n Wild eyeshadows, I would definitely say to. I really enjoy them. I don't know where my others went because I used to have another one of these. I have no idea where it is. So now for the inner part of that eyelid, I'm going to go in with a L'Oreal Infallable eyeshadow in the shade Endless Sea. And they have a lot of different shades of these. These, for a single drugstore shadow, are kind of expensive from what I remember. And it comes with like a little cap. That is what the shade looks like. I'm just going to take my finger. These are very creamy. It's a very strange texture, but they're incredible. If I could get more of these, I definitely would. But I never think about it. And I have so many eyeshadows, like I don't really need to. Like, just look at this though. But it's definitely one that if you've got a little bit of money and want to splurge on one, like you see a shade that really speaks to you, they are definitely worth the price. Like, look at that. There's still a lot left on my finger, but I really can't say enough about these shadows. They're so good. Got a little bit under my eye. I'll go ahead and clean that up because it literally fell right into my crease. Go figure. So that's it for the eyeshadow part of the eye look. Oh, Bubba, hi. Where'd you come from? My cat just wandered in here and screamed at me. So we're gonna move right along. And I do have some eyeliners that are my favorites, but this look, I didn't want to use an eyeliner. So, I will try to see if I can pop them on screen. Though I don't have any liquid liners from the drugstore that are my favorite, except for maybe the E.L.F. one. So yeah, we've got a pink side, we've got a blue side. Now, onto the face. So I really haven't tried a whole lot of drugstore primer, like traditional drugstore, but I have the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Matte. And I only use a little bit of this. If you know any like good traditional drugstore primers, let me know, because this is pretty much the only one I use. I don't have the dewy one because I have mostly oily skin, and while I need a little bit of moisturizer most of the time right here, I don't feel like using a dewy primer helps because I don't want my forehead to look dewy. I just want it to look not dry. So, my foundation, which was a really easy pick because it's one of my favorite foundations anyway, is the CoverGirl TruBlend Matte Transfer Resistant foundation. And mine is in the shade L10, which is Fair Porcelain. So I just pop a little bit on the back of my hand, and I start with one pump and kind of go from there. Some days I want a little more coverage, some days I want a little less coverage. That's not the brush I wanted. And then, yeah, I'll just use this one. And then I take, I just take it and draw lines across my face. And it does look more kind of yellowy golden in this light. But once it's all blended out, it usually looks pretty good. Not gonna say that it's my perfect match, but it's definitely one of the closest that I've ever found at the drugstore. So we'll leave it at that. So then I'm just gonna take a blender brush and start blending it out. And I do stipples and then circular motions. Then, of course, try to bring it down onto my chin so that everything looks nice and blended. Bring it over my ear. See, like, once it's blended out and covers the redness in my face, it doesn't look bad. It's, I think, maybe I just don't know my skin tone, but I think it's the redness in my skin, which you can still see up here, that makes it look so harsh initially. But I could be wrong. Let me know down in the comments. Do I just completely not know how to pick my foundation? Because that could definitely be the case. Because I didn't really start wearing foundation until I got this one. I had an old CoverGirl, I don't even remember what the name of it was, but it's one of the like triangular almost shaped bottles of like the old type of foundation they had. And I had a Maybelline, not the matte and poreless, but whatever the dewy shine one was. And that one never looked good on me, and I couldn't figure out why. And it would always look cakey and just oily and thick and bad. That was when I found out that I have oily skin. So, you know, makes sense, right? So with this foundation, just one pump, you can still see redness peeking through on the tops of my cheeks because I have a lot of redness in my face. But overall, I don't think it looks bad. Like, it compared to my neck, it's not like a stark difference. Like anything that would make someone stop and tell me necessarily that I was wearing the wrong color of foundation, in my opinion. But you can kind of see, because I wasn't able to put a moisturizer on there, that my forehead definitely does not look the best because it just clings a little bit to those dry patches. So I'm going to go ahead and set this, which I don't always do. I'm going to take a giant fluffy brush. If I am setting this and I'm using a drugstore, I have 3. One is the Maybelline Fit Me pressed powder. One is the Rimmel matte powder in the circular pan. That's hands down my next favorite if I want a pressed powder. And then if I'm doing a loose powder, I just have the E.L.F. translucent face powder. And that powder just went everywhere. I don't have the sifter in mine anymore, so I'm just going to gently tap in, tap off, let powder go everywhere. And I'm going to look crazy here for just a second. because I'm going to tap this all over. You can definitely see where I'm tapping it. And then I'm going to buff it in. Particularly around my cheeks, my nose, and my chin. Because it prevents me from getting as oily throughout the day as the oils start to come out. And it makes it easier to do highlighter and all that stuff. Because it sets this foundation. This foundation isn't too tacky if left alone. But it's not the best. I usually don't set right here because the powder clings to those dry patches on me. And it's just not a cute look. So now everything feels nice and powdered. Doesn't look too bad. Except right around here, but I try to ignore that. Normally, if I'm trying like to actually get ready and using all this stuff, I do have a moisturizing primer I use, but it's not Drugstore, so it's not in this video. Now I have a product I'm going to use that I don't actually use daily, and it's kind of a hit or miss as to whether or not it's actually supposed to be the product that I'm using it for, because it's a little misleading. So it is the Wet n Wild Color Icon Bronzer in the shade Reserve Your Cabana. It's kind of a bronzer on me, kind of a slightly dark setting powder. I can imagine, though, on most people, this is not a very bronzing shade. Even on me, it's not bronzing. It's just a little deeper, so it does add a little definition. I don't even know if it picks up on camera. A little definition to that part of my face. So, an honorable mention, if I want an actual drugstore bronzer, this is the only one that I own other than a Wet n Wild one that I've never actually tried, is the Flower Beauty Heat Wave Luminous Bronzer in the shade Sunrise L1. So if I just tap into that a little bit, it definitely has more of a bronzing effect and has like that reddish undertone that most bronzers have. You can see it a little bit more. I don't bronze my skin very often. I feel like, one, I'm very inexperienced with it, but also on me it tends to just look a little strange. And I can't decide if it's because I don't know what I'm doing. Like, see, it looks a little aggressive to me. Maybe it looks perfectly fine to y'all. I don't know. But it could also be because maybe I need like a different shade or a different undertone. But anyway, that's my honorable mention because it blends out really well. I use it on occasion. I'm going to mention a concealer. I don't use concealer unless I absolutely have to. But when I do, it is the CoverGirl Ready Set Gorgeous in the shade Light. I like it. It always blends out really well. It doesn't cling. It doesn't look patchy or dry. My nose itches. So, an honorable mention for blush, because I don't use blush, is the Wet n Wild Color Icon blush in the shade Rosé Champagne. And I'm going to get right on into highlighter. So on one side, I'm going to use a highlighter that I love, that I think is going to complement the look a little bit. I'll use this brush. And that is the Wet n Wild MegaGlo Highlighting Powder. This was one of the Halloween editions, and it's in the shade If You've Got It, Haunt It. And it's like a purpley pink lilac with a skull imprint. I love this highlighter. And I'm going to put it on the bluey side because this is kind of the less everyday wear for me. Get a little bit more. This brush is not picking it up as well as I'd like. Let me get another brush here. Let's try this one. See if I can get a little bit more on this. There we go. I can actually see it on this brush, so. Oh yeah. I hope it picks up on camera, but it's just a really pretty purple and pink reflect. Pop a little in the inner corner. It's a very, very pretty color. So the next highlighter, because I love this formula, I have just never tried this specific one, is also from Wet n Wild. It's the, when they did the Zodiac collection, it's one of the Zodiac bars, and it's the Fire bar. I've never even opened it, so I'm trying to get the seal off. This is what it looks like. I'll show it again when it's open so that the light is not crazy reflecting on it. But the Wet n Wild highlighters, no matter which formula you get, are amazing in my opinion. These bar highlighters are really nice. So this is what it looks like. I've never used it because I thought it might be a little deep, but we're going to give it a go today. So I'm going to go back to the original brush that wasn't really picking up a whole lot of the other one. I'm just going to brush across. Oh yeah, it's definitely picking up this one. Whoa. And we're going to go in on the other side because it's a little more warm. Oh yeah. It is a little deep for me. When I turn forward, I can see where it's sitting. I don't know if that's picking up on camera, but it is a really pretty, like, gold orange color. Put a little of that in the inner corner. Cupid's bow. I'm going to put this one down my nose. Bam! Highlighter. So no matter which way you go with a Wet n Wild highlighter, you're gonna get a good highlighter. Like, they're just great. So now going back to the eyes, I have two mascaras I want to mention. One I love for top lashes, and the other one is great for both, but it's a great bottom lash mascara. The first one that I'm going to use up top is the NYX Pinup Tease. And this is the BMCO2 Pinup Tease. So it's got one of the, like, traditional curled mascara wands. And smells like mascara. So I'm just going to take this and do both top lashes. And it's funny because this used to be a mascara that I used every day when I first got into wearing mascara daily. Because that kind of flipped between what makeup products are my favorite. So I went through a phase for a while where I was just wearing mascara and lipstick. And this was the mascara that I was using. And then I went through a phase where I was using highlighter more often. And I actually switched to the mascara that I'm going to use on the bottom lashes and kind of forgot about this one. But I was going through all my stuff to do this video. I remembered this one and how much I loved it. So I kind of, one, wanted to bring it back because I did love it, but also kind of wanted to see how it compares now to other mascaras that I've been using more often that are not Drugstore. And I'd say so far, we're looking pretty good. Trying to not cover my face while I do this. I've got one eyelash. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it from the top. That's wanting to go down. That's driving me nuts. But it's got these really nice spiky bristles that do a really good job at separating the lashes, but it still has kind of a spidery effect, which I like. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I quite like it in the right situation. This is getting a little too clumpy for me right there. It's starting to do that thing where when I blink, they stick together a little more. So that is both top lashes done. Now for bottom lashes, we are going to go in with the Wet n Wild Wet n Wild Megawear mascara in Very Black. You can actually get this from like Dollar Tree or Walmart or wherever. It has a very nice fibery brush, but it's long and thin. Not like super thin, but I like the way that it makes my lashes look a lot. Try to hold this up in the air and see if that helps since I'm doing my bottom ones. Like as far as preventing me. I can't talk and do this, sorry. I just think it makes them look very nice and natural, but gives them color and length, definition. Stuck my finger on it. That one eyelash from the top. There we go. Like, it just gives, in my opinion, for bottom lashes, just the right amount of volume and drama without being too crazy if you're not looking for like bam bottom lashes. I wanted to kind of compare them both. So that is what we've got with the eyes and highlighter and face. Now last but not least, lipstick, tried and true, classic, all across the board my favorite traditional drugstore lip product other than the Wet n Wild Liquid Catsuits is the NYX Lingerie liquid lipsticks, and this one here is in the shade Embellishment. These have a nice long thin applicator. And then you can kind of turn it to do what you need it to do as far as like what part of your mouth you're going along. Oops. Got a little excited over there. So I have not tried a shade of this that I did not like. And they range from like normal nude colors to like this one which has a purple undertone. They have ones with brown undertones. They have one with pink undertones, gray undertones. It's just a really nice range of nude, natural-ish lips, and I love them. The formula is incredible. A lot of people think that they're very drying. I find the formula really similar to the ColourPop Ultra Matte. So if you don't like those, you probably will not like this. I love both. So, bam. I think we're done. So that is my normal, traditional drugstore favorites video. I'm gonna take my hair down and see how it all looks together with my little braid waves. Let me know down below what items are your favorites. What traditional drugstore eyeshadow should I try? Because apparently I don't have enough. I really want to try the Boom. I really want to try the NYX Swear By It, and I want to try the E.L.F. Like 18 pan ones. Oh, I can't think of what they're called. But ones like new classics and stuff like that. So let me know what you thought. Do you agree? Are there any of these you don't like? What should I try? Let me know down below. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you want to see more of my content. And tune in next time where I do the non-traditional drugstore products as well. I will see you guys next time. Bye!